Welcome to Second Life Upcycling. In this easy and beginner-friendly tote bag tutorial, I'll show you what I believe is a fail-safe tote bag pattern and sewing method that should work every time. Hopefully you'll find this tutorial easy to follow. At the end, I've included a concise step-by-step outline of the entire process that you may want to watch several times to get the steps right while you're making your bag. Let's get started. The first step is to cut out the pieces. I always line my bags, but you don't have to. I cut all the pieces at the same time, the outer fabric and the lining. I've included the pattern sizes in the comments below. You can adjust these to suit your bag size preference. The steps in this tutorial should work the same. First, join your side pieces to one of the front or back pieces. Sew these in place. Then, sew the remaining front or back piece to the free side piece. You should then have a tube. Now, it's important that the bottom piece is attached and sewn following this method. Out of a piece of cardboard, cut an equilateral triangle that has 3 sides of 2 centimeters. Using the triangle as a guide, place it in each corner of the bottom piece and draw a diagonal line. I'll show you this process on the lining because it's easier than the busy blue fabric. Now, attach the bottom piece to the bottom of your top tube, but you're not going to sew all the way to each corner. Stop sewing when you reach the diagonal line. Then, start again on the other side of the diagonal line. Then, fold down the corners and sew the diagonal in each corner. This gives a nice round corner at the bottom of the bag. If you want to add pockets to the inside, I do this next. To make the pockets, I use the burrito or inside out method, sewing the outside, leaving a section open and then turning it right side in. The pockets are then sewn to the right side of the lining. Next, it's onto the handles. I do this a few ways. For the blue bag, I made rounded straps. To make these, I make a tube like you would a waistband, and then I feed the rope through. Because I don't use anything new when I'm upcycling and sewing, I just use camping rope that I've got in my workshop. I've included a different handle option at the end of the tutorial that is easier than this option. How long or short you want the handles is your choice. Personally, I like short handles. If you're doing this method, make the fabric tube longer than the rope. This is so you can affix the handles to the bag between the outer fabric and lining. To make it easier to sew the lining to the outer bag, I press a hem at the top of each with the iron. I then pin them together before measuring where I want to affix the handles. The gap you want between the handles is also a personal choice. I tend to measure 7 centimeters each side of the center point. Then sew the top hem in place on the machine. Make sure you move the lining down 1 centimeter or so. This is so the lining doesn't show over the top of the bag. And finally, I go through my bag of tricks to work out how I'm going to create a closure mechanism for the bag. I don't have any press studs left, so use buttons with a ribbon tie. I like to add some beads or a tassel to the end as a personalized finish touch. And here is the blue bag finished. I've made so many of these only take me about an hour to make each one, and I don't rush. Next, I'll go through the process from start to finish quickly, using the grey bag as an example. That way, when you're making a bag, you can just reference this end section rather than navigating through the longer explanation. I hope this helps. Step 1. Cut the pieces for your outer bag and lining. Refer to the comments for the dimensions. Step 2. Sew the side pieces to one of the front or back pieces. Sew these in place on the machine. Step 3. Attach the loose side pieces to the other front or back piece. Sew this in place on the machine. You'll end up with a tube. Step 4. On the bottom pieces for the outer bag and the lining, use your 2 centimeter equilateral triangle and mark a diagonal line in each corner. Step 5. Pin the corresponding bottom piece to your tube. Step 6. On the machine, sew the bottom, starting at the right side of each corner where the diagonal is marked. Stop when you reach the corresponding diagonal, which will be to the left of the diagonal mark. Step 7. Sew the diagonal corners following your mark. Step 8. Sew your pocket pieces using the burrito or inside-out method. Once right side in, press them with the iron so they're nice and flat. Sew them in place. Step 9. Make your handles. For the grey bag, I use the easier method of cutting 2 matching lengths of fabric. Turn over and press a longer hem on one side. On the other side, turn over a shorter hem. Then fold the shorter hem over to cover the longer hem. Pin this in place. If you prefer, give it a press with the iron before you sew it in place. Now, you want to make sure that you've left enough hem so it won't come undone. Step 10. Using your iron, press a hem at the top of the lining and the top of the outer bag. Insert the lining into the bag and pin it in place. Remember to move the inner lining down a few centimeters so it doesn't show at the top. Step 11. Measure equal distance from the center of the bag and pin your handles in place, tucking the ends between the lining and the outer bag. Step 12. Stitch it all together on the machine. Step 13. Attach your closing fasteners of choice. And you're done. Please share how your bag turned out in the comments below and any alterations you made to personalize it. I love inspiration from others. Thanks so much for watching. I hope I explained the steps simply enough. If you enjoyed this video or you'd like to see more tutorials like this one, please throw me a thumbs up. It really helps. I'm currently working on a series of affordable Christmas gifts, which I'm hoping to post in the coming weeks. So if you're looking for free gift ideas, you may want to subscribe so you don't miss an update. See you next time.